Hey, this is Dancing Rabbit, and welcome to another Weekend Pagan Perspective. It's a beautiful spring day in Houston, a little chilly, but it's really nice out here. This week's question has to do with New Age versus Pagan. I think I've been called New Age maybe once, and I think that the person intended it as sort of a criticism or a put down, that my spiritual path as a pagan was not as ancient and authentic as his. I didn't particularly take offense at it, and we didn't enter into any kind of argument about it. I think that there's a lot of similarities, a lot of crossover between New Age and Pagan. I think that there are some really important differences. Similarities, we both do drumming and dancing. I have drummed and danced at Earth Dance, which is a very New Age gathering, and I've drummed and danced around the Revel Fire at Council for the Magical Arts, which is a very pagan gathering. And I'm quite aware of the difference in feeling at both places. And talking with the people, I become aware of their the real differences in their spiritual practices. But I don't particularly use the term New Age as a put down, and if someone were to call me New Age, I don't think I would particularly be offended by it. There might or might not be the opportunity for me to explain to them why I don't consider myself New Age. So basically, what would I mean by the term pagan and New Age? The word pagan comes from the Latin paganus, which means country dweller, hic, country person. And it's used as it is because in the first couple of centuries of the current era, as Christianity began expanding through Western Europe, it took root first in the cities. So by the time Christianity was the dominant religion in the empire, the only people still practicing the earlier polytheistic religions lived out in the country, and they were called pagans. Modern neo-paganism is an attempt more or less to recreate, recover, maybe by reconstructing, maybe through a great deal of creativity, to get back to those earlier pre-Christian European and Mediterranean religions. While, on the other hand, New Age comes from the late 1960s, perhaps very early 70s, the counterculture movement, when a lot of people were seeking spiritual enlightenment in a lot of different, and for them, new places. There were a lot of celebrities who made pilgrimages to India seeking enlightenment, and a lot of Indian spiritual leaders came to the UK and the United States and gathered followings around them. This is what became New Age, and so the practices aren't particularly new except to some of us Westerners who began discovering them and practicing them. While there are a great deal of similarities, at least on the surface, I think that there are fundamental differences between New Age and pagan. And I can go into a shop and almost immediately put it into one or the other of those categories, even though perhaps some of your nationwide book chains do manage to put pagan books in the New Age section. Going into the background of New Age as coming from India and the Far East, they seem to have a view of spirituality and the physical world as being in opposition to each other. Even the non-dualistic forms of Hinduism view the physical world as either an illusion to be sort of gotten over, or as an impediment to spirituality to be broken free from, liberated from. Whereas we pagans, coming from a pre-Christian Western background, generally view nature as something positive and good, perhaps in a sort of romantic sense, that the goal of spirituality is harmony with, union with nature, rather than breaking free from it. So that's how I use the terms. And so when I go up to Spirit Quest, I realize that I'm talking mainly to New Age people, and when I go down to the Witchery, I realize I'm probably talking to mostly pagan people. Don't use it as a put down, just use it as a descriptor. Anyway, I'm going to close this thing off before the webcam dies on me yet again. I think I've probably tried this maybe 3 dozen times. Hope this one answers your question, or maybe even sparks a little controversy. Leave some comments in the underbar, and I will see you guys next week here on Pagan Perspective.